Buenas noches, YouTubers. I am going to tell you about the worst babysitting experience ever. So, you may think you've had some bad babysitting experiences, but none of them can even amount to how crazy this one was. Okay, I'm ready. So I was babysitting my baby cousin Logan, and he wasn't even a year old yet, and he was super cute. It was his first time to ever be babysat, and it was my first time to ever babysit somebody that young, like somebody that little, and his parents, or my aunt and uncle, really trusted me, so I was like, awesome. But my brothers were there too, so it really wasn't just me, but whatever. Everything started out fine. They left at like 6 or something, and they said they weren't going to come back till like midnight. Now, the baby was supposed to go to bed at 8:30. That was the plan. Our plan. But that obviously wasn't the baby's plan. His normal routine for going to bed was you had to lay him on your chest, and then you had to play this little thing. It was a little plastic thing that played music. And you're supposed to press play on that, and it would play this weird tune over and over and over again. And then you'd feed him his bottle. And supposedly, he would go to sleep. And he did for about 5 minutes. So I tried to put him in his little crib thing. We put him in the thing, in the crib-ish thing. And he woke up because he had a weird position. And woke up and started crying all over the place. Always crying. Babies are always crying. And it was not a happy time. So obviously I took him back out, and I tried the same thing again. But this time I laid on Zach's bed. My brother, Zach. I laid on his bed and tried to get the baby to sleep. And that wasn't happening. But then he fell asleep, and I was like, awesome. So I was just feeding him the milk, and the baby was sort of drinking it, like halfway asleep, halfway awake. And then he threw up his milk all over me and all over the bed. It was a lot of baby milk throw-up-ness. And of course, the baby was crying. I was crying and the baby was crying. It was a big mess, and everybody was crying except for Zach, obviously. He was like, just stop crying. And I was like, I can't. There's throw-up on me. So I ran to my room crying and changed clothes, crying, still crying. But I heard this like screaming of bloody murder from the baby in the other room. So I was like, what is going on in there? So I was changing and crying. I come back in, and this is what I see. We are going to use this baby as an example. So my brother Zach was like this, holding the baby outward while the baby was screaming, crying. And my other brother, Drew, as the baby was like, ah! And Drew was playing with its feet while it was crying, trying to make it happy by wiggling its feet. Oh my god, it was bad. So I grabbed the baby and was like holding it like a regular baby should be held, you know, like this, you know, and I was like holding the baby, trying to keep it from crying. Of course it kept crying. And I went to go call my aunt because I didn't know what to do. So I went and called my aunt. And I told my aunt we tried everything that was possibly able to be tried, and so she's like, okay, just let him stay awake. So I was like, oh great. So I went downstairs. I said, is it okay for him to watch TV? Because she said before it's not good for babies' eyes or whatever to watch TV. But oh well. I took the baby to the TV downstairs and let him lay there on a pillow. This is a reenactment of the baby and I's mood. Exhibit A, the baby. Let's go play. Of course, the baby wasn't old enough to talk yet, but that's what he was like, crawling everywhere. Exhibit B, me. So finally, the baby started watching the TV and started dozing off. Finally. I gave him more milk and was holding him, and he fell asleep. But I was laying down in the most awkward position So if I use the baby example, my legs were like this way, and like on the side, and my back was like laying on the ground, so it was like blah. It was like topsy-turvy baby, and the baby was right here, and I was like blah. So obviously in that position I didn't want to move, because if I did, I was like, the baby was gonna explode or something. I mean, the baby's like a time bomb. Tick 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 tick. And if I made even the slightest movement, the baby would explode. So I couldn't move. And as I was lying uncomfortably on the floor with the baby, Zach was asleep. I couldn't fall asleep because for fear that I would roll over and squash the baby. So I stayed still, and Zach was asleep on the very big comfy couch that was right next to me. I wanted that couch because I wanted to sleep on something comfortable while I had this baby laying on me. So I tried to yell at him in the softest whisper that I possibly could, for fear that the baby would explode. Zach! Zach! He didn't wake up. So I grabbed the most nearby object, which was the phone, after calling my Aunt Jules, and I threw it at him. Ugh. And he woke up and he was like, What do you want, Jess? Zach, I need to lay up there. No. I need to. I'm really uncomfortable. I'm comfortable. Give me the phone. So he tossed me the phone, and I grabbed it and called my mother and said, Mom, tell Zach to get off the couch. I need the couch. I threw the phone at him and said, It's Mom. Great. And he was like, hello. Get off the couch because Jess needs to lay there. Fine. So he got up and left. In very, very small motions, I got up with the baby, and the baby woke up, was like, and I forced his head back down on me, on my shoulder. Forced it back down, he fell back asleep. Whew. I was good. But I was laying sort of sideways on the couch, and the baby was laying flatways next to me. So I couldn't sleep, and the parents didn't get home till like 1 in the morning. So the baby was there, and it was like 10. And I laid there with the baby next to me, sleeping like a log, and I had to sit there for fear that I might squash it. And if I even moved, it would probably wake up, and we'd have to do it all over again. Okay, so tell me if that isn't the worst babysitting experience ever. It was bad, but I still love him to death because he's a doll face. So, I love you, Logan, little Logers. Okay. So, I have a challenge for y'all. Post a video talking about your worst babysitting experience. You probably have one. Unless you don't babysit or you're allergic to kids. I know people like that.